Thank you, colleagues. As already introduced, I'm with the Water Research Commission. I am responsible for international projects as well as international partnerships and national partnerships. I work in a unit called International and Partnerships Unit. So thank you, colleagues, for inviting me today. I'm just going to speak briefly about how the WRC plays its role in terms of research and translating that into economical activities in the country, as per the theme today. Now, to start with, the WRC was actually established almost 52 years ago, and it was established as a result of long periods of drought from the 1971 Water Act. And it has evolved over the years, and today it is what it has become. And we have a vision today that is looking at having a highly informed water decision making through science and technology at all levels and all stakeholder groups, as well as innovative solutions through research development for South Africa and across the world. So this is the current vision that we're operating on. And this is the vision that informs the type of work that we're doing already in the Commission. We are Just 3A, agency that reports to the Department of Water and Sanitation. Next slide. Next slide. Now, the slide here will show you the primary functions or the primary responsibilities of the Commission. And I'm reverting to this so that we can connect it to what exactly we are doing within the sector. That speaks to the topic of today. One of the key functions that we're trying to do in the organization that we are doing, in fact, is promoting of coordination and cooperation. The other one is establishing the water research needs for the country. And we do this through working with the intelligence the intelligence in the country within the water spaces. That includes universities, research performing institutions, as well as research funding organizations. We actually stimulate and fund research, so we don't actually perform or do manage research ourselves or perform research ourselves. We actually fund it and manage it. We promote the effective transfer of information and technology in this regard. So the solutions that we actually develop are actually developed from the research that we do. We try our best to actually try and translate that to the right stakeholders for that to be used. And we enhance the knowledge and capacity building within the sector. Some of you may know that have worked with the Commission over the years that most of the WRC projects actually have human capital capacity development activities embedded within the project themselves. That is to say that most of the projects that are managed or rather funded by the WRC will have students in those projects that are being funded by WRC as part of capacity. But more than that, we also do different types of capacity development activities. That includes issues around hackathons, workshops that we look into, master classes and winter schools with partners that look into how we can actually capacitate young professionals and young students in the relevant areas and topical areas of the day. Next slide. Now, this is the hologram of the WRC. I should actually remove the name there, but it's fine. The key areas that I want you to focus on is that we have actually two branches at WRC. One is the Knowledge and Development Innovation branch. The other is Knowledge and Impact, which is an area that I come from. Now, we're looking at two outcomes. Those two outcomes are engagement for stakeholder, as well as innovation-driven water sector that is cross-cutting between the branches. Now, our responsibility is to make sure that people know, the relevant stakeholders of the WRC and partners know about the work that we're conducting as the WRC. They know about the calls, they know about certain issues that are challenging us and challenging the sector. So we engage and we work with the partners themselves. But the other aspect that we do is to ensure that the knowledge products that are coming from the Knowledge Development Innovation team or branch are actually then translated to the right partners and are taken up by right partners for utilization. And this will be normally municipalities or water service authorities looking at issues of taking the solutions, some of the solutions that are developed from programs such as WADE and SESTEP to the next level. So working with partners such as TIA, as well as other relevant partners within the sector that actually utilize our knowledge. This also includes universities and so on. Thank you. Next slide. Now, the following slide is a reflection of some of the current challenges that we are having as a country that are related to water and sanitation activities. And this also informs the type of research that we are prioritizing and undertaking. There's an issue around population growth. And as you know, water is a finite resource. And in that regard, there's population growth and urbanization. That creates a demand for water and sanitation services. There's also issues of aging infrastructure. Again, that also creates issues in terms of water leaks, water losses, water management, but again, issues of refurbishing that in order to provide the basic services of water provision and water quality. There's issues around water scarcity and stress. We know issues of climate change and what's happening globally. We know that as time goes, South Africa is actually already a dry country and expecting it to be even drier in the future. So it is more important for us to actually manage our water resources much more efficiently. There's issues of pollution, and this is both from industrial as well as citizens and communities and people across the country that are contributing to the huge challenges of pollution in our societies. And this brings about, again, challenges in terms of keeping our rivers clean, our water sources clean. And then that comes with an expense of us having to clean those particular water resources as well as recycling of water for provision. And then there's issues of climate change. I think you all, most of you know much about this as well. And the fact that although Africa is the least polluter, we're going to be the biggest payer when it comes to issues of climate change, and must find ways in which we resolve this and manage this so that tomorrow we have a future resilient or water resilient South Africa or Africa in this regard. Next slide. Now, this is the chain or the thinking that we are actually operating on, and I'll just focus on maybe the last three columns that speak to how we are trying to translate these ideas into the market. Now, first, we look at what some of the challenges are, we do the research, we look at what the ideas are, we put this into development innovation stages, demonstration and scaling innovation stages, and uptake. So these are some of the areas that are connected to the programs that we have already in the WRC. That is WADA, SESTEP, and also what we call special programs. Now, these are technology innovation accelerators. Now, WADA looks at water technologies, and the SESTEP looks at sanitation technologies. You know, the idea of having new sanitation solutions. Now, this is to take innovations and solutions or technological innovation solutions already there that are being built and bring them to a particular level, we test them, we demonstrate them, and we then try to get these technology innovations into the users themselves using different stakeholders, because we are not an implementing agency, but a research finding an agency. So we'll work with the right partners to make sure that they start uptaking these new toilets, these solutions that can deal with water losses and water leaks and using less water in terms of toilets, like different sanitation solutions that we have, such as Aramdu and so on. Next slide. Yeah, I think we can, it's all right. We can go to the next slide, but this slide just speaks about the issues of how we should be changing our behavior. I'll look into this slide, which is, I think, quite important for us. Now, as I've said, that we are knowledge, we work in a knowledge generation environment, we commission and fund knowledge generation, as well as technological development in terms of weight assessment programs, but we are not the implementers. So we have to get the partners to come into play and uptake this information and knowledge and solutions for them to use in order to have greater benefit from the investments that we've made. Now, knowledge dissemination is very important. And as I've said, that we come from the knowledge impact portfolio team, and that deals with this particular aspect. The water and sanitation demonstrations as well, technologies that are transferred. So we have a technology transfer office in the WRC. Now that office deals with exactly that, the transferring of technologies to various companies for organizations for them to actually use those technologies. And those technologies can then be used by these companies in order to generate income and money and become a profitable business. So these are one of the ways in which we are trying to do this. Now, the issues around knowledge administration is again to talk about, promote, and circulate the information and products that we have so that the public can be able to use it. The knowledge and products that we have gain value and by the way we use them, how we use them, and their application. So if they're sitting on a shelf and not being utilized, although we spend resources, that they may not generate as much value as they should have been creating or generating when they're being utilized. So it is possible for us to talk about that. So the research and development issues around here, we're looking at water security and adaptation and resilience. Again, here, we want to enhance livelihoods. It's a difficult method sometimes to try and measure this impact. So how do you measure the impact of livelihoods? But we know that as long as people are receiving quality water, and we know that we played a role in making sure that they're getting quality water, improving that livelihood, because that also results in people not being sick. So you're promoting now water and health issues. We're looking at issues of climate change. It's important for us to make sure that in the future we still have water that is of good quality, because climate change does affect the quality of water. So these are some of the impact areas that we're contributing to, but may be very difficult for us to actually to measure the type of impact. But these are important, and this also contributes to the issues of economical development, because when municipalities are able to provide the services, they're able to actually accrue and generate money from those provision services of quality water by using the DaVinci resources. We can go to the next slide. And please hold me when I have like 4 or 5 minutes. So this slide here, and I want you to concentrate on my right-hand side, the transfer leaks, and what we sort of already know. Now, the transfer leaks are talking to how we actually move from science to society. What sort of steps we think about when you do this? Now we have an area that talks to science. We have science to policy, science to delivery, and science to society. Now, science to policy, and science to science and service delivery also speak around issues of technology transfer, talk about issues of knowledge dissemination. They talk about issues of technology uptake or solutions uptake, which includes both knowledge, technology, and innovations. And this talks about how society uptakes the science and uses it itself. Recently, we're also having issues or rather conversations around citizen science. Now that is using working with citizens to understand what is happening in the environment, but also for citizens themselves to apply science-based decision-making in order to protect the environment as well as water resources, but also translate and transfer that knowledge. In this country and in other countries, we sometimes take such things such as water availability for granted, and people start polluting that water without understanding the value of water. But once we start having more people being scientifically aware and knowledgeable about the importance of this and how the water is being reused, or how water can be reused, how water is treated, where you're getting the water, the types of different waters, and the value of water, and then we can start treating the water with much better respect and not waste it. So this talks to that type of understanding and communication. Now, the types of organizational, economic, and social skills that connections that are there as well as multi-dimensions speak to this this transfer of links. We have to have the skills in the economy to do that. We have to put monitoring and observation systems monitoring systems on it. We have to know what type of finance and political priorities are happening on the ground, what are political priorities, so that we can be able to ensure that we align ourselves well. But also have to talk about issues that are making this a challenge, the vandalism of infrastructure. Something about the construction mafia now is already all over the news. And that impacts on service delivery and impacts on uptake of some of the solutions. I'll go to the next slide. So here we are looking at, now this slide talks to the previous slide again, and also to the future. What are the challenges and what is tomorrow having for us when it comes to this issue of water? And we know that this issue of growing demand. We know that the country is getting drier with climate change. We know that supply services and infrastructure, they are not, the integrity thereof has been compromised, they're deteriorating. We know how expensive are performing on this. We know that there are vulnerable areas, and we know that we're getting 50% of water from only 10% of the land. And this is, now the population of the countries is estimated around about 62, 63 million people. And I think they're just being moderate, it might be more. And we have to actually assist the government and the water service authorities, as well as Department of Water and Sanitation, to assist them with the intelligence and the knowledge and the scientific expertise to assist them in providing in making provision for quality water and access to sanitation for all. And that's a huge challenge. Next slide. I think this probably will be the last slide that I'll speak to, if not the second last. Now, here, colleagues, we are looking at, if you can look at it in a matter of also sort of a circular economy type of thinking, and how these things are connected, and how and where the values of economical viability or values of water and its value maybe derived from. Water resource management is one of them, and here you can look at the different issues around source diversification, where we're getting the water from. And this looked at issues of integrated resource planning. But when you're looking into this aspect, then you have to also look at issues of climate change and weather variability. We have extreme events now. There's been floods in the country. I know some of you may recall the recent floods in Durban and the impact thereof in terms of what it actually, the type of damage that it did to some people's homes, and issues around planning around that. The information is there, but what happened to the planning? The efficient use of water, improved water storage and catchments, protecting and improving water and quality and power perimeter. So these are some of the areas that we really have to improve on, and they are connected because, again, issues of water and health. There's an area that we're talking to, looking at emerging water contaminants. How is that going to affect the quality of water in the future, as well as other people? These are some of the stuff that are still under discussion. You look at water services development, wastewater treatment and use. That's also an area, where we can start having, as byproducts, having energy being derived from this as well. Wastewater reuse, also making sure that, and there are also, if you can have independent power producers, perhaps you can have independent water treatment plants, to improve that. So these are some of the aspects that you're looking to, but also monitoring and data management. In the beginning, we spoke about issues of water research observatory, and that is something that is also in the pipeline, and that is going to look at collating and curating of the information, maybe in a single data source or platform, and you can be able to get different types of data with respect to what's happening on the ground when it comes to water in society. Next slide. I've already spoken to some of these aspects. And the energy from waste, the biogas, wastewater treatment, there's other areas of opportunities that we should be looking into. Resource recovery from wastewater is one of the areas we can look into, because from this we can even have fertilizers that can be developed. It can be used even in explosives, so you can have certain phosphates that are coming with this that can be combined and used in the mining sector and so on. There's opportunity again in using new technologies of infrastructure as means of securing the water availability and preventing future water leaks. So there's and as well as using less water. So there's an opportunity in that issue. We're looking at also issues of project handled power in streams. There's some projects that are also looking at where within even the cities themselves can we start putting certain generators that can produce electricity, and therefore that's augmented issues of power or electricity in the country. We are already suffering a lot from load shedding, so this can be one of the areas that augments that. Now, the skills training is very important for us, as I mentioned, that each and every project or most of the projects that we see have training capacity development part of that. Now, this is not just to say that we want capacitated individuals that just going to be looking for jobs, and henceforth we have programs that is weight and system that also promote entrepreneurship. So we want to have future leaders within the system, within the sector, that are owning businesses and companies through programs such as WRC and SUSTEP, and started their own businesses within the water sector. So we are working very hard with partners, including the South African Bureau of Standards, that talks to this, to actually standardize the toilets that we have in, so that those toilets can then be sold in the market, and you and I can purchase them, knowing fully well and with confidence that these things have been tested and they're meeting the minimum standards required. So we're working in those particular areas as means, again, to augment what is happening in the economy and building technopreneurship and entrepreneurship. Looking at new job opportunities, again, I think I've spoken much to this, especially with respect to, how the water resource catchment areas of the country have been polluted, and the impact that this have on municipalities as well as water service provisions. But I think cleaning up those environments and wetlands and rivers can be an opportunity for business if it's maybe modeled well. Next slide, Michael. So here again, I think we're just looking at the various different types of water systems and their mix, as well as what type of shocks that we are having challenging us in the system. But I wanted to also focus on this issue of water, energy, food, and access to the environment in the economy, because this is also an area that, if well balanced, I think Dr. Ndiba spoke about this as well, knowing what type of plants you can plant and where, looking at issues of what type of nutrition that this actually plants have. And this is some of the work that is done by our water and utilization agricultural team in the WRC, and it looks at all these various elements as well as how they connect to each other in terms of food and energy. And again, this presents opportunities of one being targeted and specific in the areas that they want to venture into in good agriculture, doing what type of resource you're going to use and what could be your geographical as well as product advantage. So using those technologies and systems, we can do that. And I think this, again, is an opportunity for, especially for rural areas as well as subsistence farmers, to not just only look at, creating business, but also feeding yourself. We know that food prices are skyrocketing now because of energy and all this other stuff, all these other elements. We spoke about the XP 140 rands, but this can help us. The knowledge information that is there can help most people study their own subsistence farming, their own gardens. And I think we should take advantage of this. And this, perhaps if you, in the future, you can look at how much you're spending, groceries compared to how much you're spending based on your garden. And this, again, to us, I think, are economical opportunities. I'll just go on the last slide. This is the second last slide, colleagues. Apologies. So I wanted to show this particular platform here. And this is looking at work that we are doing based on the water connections and the different aspects that I'm talking about, are also focusing on these two aspects: resilience and adaptation, economic growth, jobs, and livelihoods. So we are being intentional about these things. We are not just throwing them from nowhere and just trying to connect them. We are being very much intentional, and this is what we want to achieve. I think you can go to the slide in terms of the programs that we are working on in the WRC, the different programs. It's the last slide. And but having said that, the last one, this is part of citizen science. I spoke about that the last slide. In essence, colleagues, as I draw my conversation or presentation to a conclusion, I think the water sector presents a numerous amount of opportunities for sustainable development, socio-economic development for the country. We have to use the knowledge that is being generated. We have to use the technologies and solutions that are being generated. We must promote that uptake, not only within the water sector itself, but for all that are connected to the water sector and all the citizens that are connected by the water sector. That means private individuals as well, to teach them about the value of water and what sort of solutions and technologies are out there that they can use privately or as within a business. This is why you have organizations such as TIA and NIPMO as well that look at intellectual properties that have been developed from projects that are emanating within the system, including those of the WRC. You can get opportunities and apply those solutions, use it for business, If you have novel solutions or novel technologies or even ideas that you want to bring to the sector, and then we need developing, we have programs such as WADA and SUSTEP that are speaking to this for both water and sanitation, that we can assist you in terms of developing those ideas to realization. And hopefully one day you become the next entrepreneur or entrepreneur and employ others in their businesses. This has already been done. We have people that are coming from these programs that are owning businesses and are running them and are becoming successful as means, again, of strengthening socio-economic development in the country. So this is not just ideas and paper, they're ideas that are being applied and are there, and the people that are having this business as a result of the intervention coming from the WRC. Citizen science is also one area that is quite strong, and I think we should strengthen that particular area. Again, use the knowledge resources and the young generation that we have in the country. South Africa and Africa have a young population, and this can help us very much in ensuring that our environment is clean, and therefore that our water resources also become cleaner. And spend less money and resources in trying to treat water due to negligence, due to ill behavior and pollution. From the WRC, I thank you very much, and I should thank put a disclaimer that I'm not an expert in most of the areas spoken, but this is a WRC presentation. So should you need to get in touch with the people that are running these programs, the experts within the WRC that are running these programs, feel free to contact myself. So I will direct you to the right personnel, or perhaps my colleague, thank you, Tyler. We will direct you to the right personnel. Our contact details are available in the presentation we can share with you. I will direct you to the right personnel and you can communicate with them and take the engagements further. Thank you very much.